We're live, guys. It's the Monday Night Live on Tuesday night, the Flip Flop Power Hour. And we're with Pedro Campos, our good friend, now business partner, on a couple of deals at least. And we're going to do even more to come. Pedro, we had to dig deep to find that picture of you that we put out on the promo for this. So you didn't send us a headshot. Don found your glamour shots. We should be doing well with the ladies tonight. Welcome, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
And so, guys, just so you know, I'll set it up what we're going to talk about with Pedro. Pedro is a local guy from Puerto Rico, grew up here right near Juan Ponce de Leon, where we love to invest, right? Like, so this is in our buy box. And Pedro's part of the team with the Looking Glass, part of the team that we sold the Looking Glass to with Jerry Norton. And we've done another deal in Sierra Gordo, and we're trying to do something in Florida now. So we've got things going on. We got a lot to talk about. But one thing that I want to make sure that we hit on and that we kind of bring to the forefront is that, Pedro, you are a local who left for opportunity, either with your family or just by yourself to go to the States to find opportunity. And now you're coming back to the island, you're moving your family back here, and you're going to take advantage of this wonderful real estate market that we have in Puerto Rico. That's really, I believe, the very best place to be investing your money right now. And so you're doing deals in the States and you're doing deals in Puerto Rico. Tell us a bit about your business.
So right now we have the hotel that we bought from you. We plan to opening, the hotel. Our target is to open this spring. We're in spring now, and then we have a couple different wholesale platforms, wholesale and flipping platforms. This year, between my partner and I, we'll probably be one of the top, wholesaling companies in the country.
Yeah. So you and I have talked offline a couple of times. You're doing an amazing amount of volume in all kinds of markets, right? And that should be expected. Your business partner is kind of a big deal, and you're a big deal too. But Jerry Norton is sort of the king of wholesale, and you've partnered up with him, which, by the way, congratulations. I'm really happy for how that's evolved for you and how quickly you bringing value to a guy like Jerry Norton has now put you in a position where you're partners with Jerry Norton and you're doing like an incredible amount of business all across the country and on the island of Puerto Rico.
And it's funny, Robert, I called you and I was like, I knew it was a great opportunity. And I'm like, you start to, when you're climbing a mountain, oftentimes in the distance, you can see the top and you can see where you want to go. But when you start to climb up the mountain, you're like, am I going in the right direction? Because all you see is wilderness. And so I called you for extra eyes, like, hey, am I going in the right direction? And I was like, let me ask you a mentorship question about this deal. Like, what do you think about me partnering with Jerry? And you were like, do you have a hard time making decisions? He's like, I don't know what there is to think about. Literally was your response. I was like, got it. And so now we're here. And
I remember that actually. You're going back and forth with, what do I get out of this Looking Glass deal and what does Jerry get? And I'm like, hey, listen, you got to do this deal, and you do these deals with people so that you can do the next deal. It's never supposed to be about one deal, right? Like I tell people that for 25 years, I don't want to be in business with somebody one time. I want to be in business with people for a lifetime, and I don't want to do one deal. So because I approach things that way, and because you approach things that way, we're able to do deal after deal after deal because we really have our partner's best interest at heart. We want to leave enough room on the table, whether that's a wholesale deal or a hotel deal. Like I try to, and I know you try to, and I want to talk about this because I think you do an excellent job of, I try to, and I will say, bring value to any project that I'm potentially in, or even bring value to people who are talking to me about projects. So like my MO is that I'll go look at anything, right? Like if somebody calls me up and says they've got a deal, I get excited about that and I'm happy to talk about it. So one of the ways that I bring value to people is by I'll go look at deals with people and talk it through with them. And you showed up at the island a year ago and just started I mean, literally, I think the first time I met you, you were like, what do you guys need? And I said, well, construction's always a problem. Labor's always a problem. So you moved your sister here, right? So it's not even just your story of coming back to the island, but because you're coming, I think because you're coming, your sister and her husband, they're coming. They've already started a couple of businesses on the island. And you did that. Like you're I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe that your enthusiasm and your willingness to bring value to other people, it's infectious, and it causes things to happen. It's really something that's quite fun to watch. And then to see and to watch you go from a guy who was taking a class with Jerry to being his business partner. Dude, that's the dream, right? Like, that's amazing. Great job.
Yeah. Things happen quickly, and growth has its growing pains, right? You know what I mean? Like, growth comes, there's pain in the growth, but it's a good growth and it's good pain. And you're right. I think the things, I think it's understanding your gifting and your value. And I like being the tip of the arrow. I'm okay, because I understand that the tip of the arrow gets the most dings. And so for me, I know, like, I can absorb a lot of those things. And I came to Puerto Rico with just lit with passion and my faith, and just took a complete step of faith, to be honest with you, and just trusting God would fill out the rest, right? Like, figure it out. And so honestly, it was a move of faith. And next thing you know, it's turned into a multi-million dollar organization. Our plan is to do $1 million a month.
Wow. And so that's super impressive, right? Everybody would love to do $1 million a month in business, in any business. Tell me about the team that you've put together in a really short period of time.
It's crazy, because like, a lot of what I did and the things that created these opportunities for me now was because I'm just a great connector. That's what I do well. I find how you have a situation. I've got a seller who's got a situation. I'm like, let's figure out how to make this work for everyone. The deal we've got in Florida, I'm like, man, the cash deal might not make sense, but there might be another alternative that everybody can win. We save their butt. They don't lose the house to foreclosure, all of those things. And so I've just learned to add value on both sides. And that's kind of what my passion is. So what I'm doing is we're building out a team, and a lot of what I've inherited has been because of, like, maybe it's because of my energy and my passion and my excitement. And so, there's guys like Rob Wensley from Investor Lift who's partnered with me and things and involved me, and he's been a good resource as well for me. And then, I've helped, facilitate him and Jerry Norton to be a connection. And I honestly believe that is something that could change the real estate industry, that relationship. And they believe it. The conversations that are going on behind, closed doors, it's great to be a fly on the wall when you're in those meetings. And the high level real estate stuff is just amazing, because it really stretches your mindset. And so what I'm doing, I'm kind of building out the systems and putting people in place, putting dispo managers and acquisition managers, and then kind of doing the high level oversight of a lot of what we're doing. So we have 2 different platforms we've launched. Nobody's done what we're doing. So we have an exclusive relationship with the banks. And so it's there's a risk to it, but we see that it's got a massive opportunity, because it could help with our acquisitions of properties that nobody has access to. And so we're bidding on like 4,000 properties a week, pretty much.
Wow.
But we're going after properties. We've got a formula set up. We're looking at how to implement AI into our situation, all of those things. But we found a relationship high up to these banks, and we're like, we've got to really press into that relationship, and it's working. And so we're acquiring about 10 to 15, maybe 20 properties, up to 50 properties a week, based on how we execute the formula. And that's just
wow, what I mean, so building that now as the banks are just sort of entering a trouble phase, it's freaking brilliant, right? Like I preach often starting a business in times that are tough and then having it grow during these tough times. And then when the times become better, it just really explodes. So this is a super interesting concept that you've got where you're going to right now start helping the banks to dispo their properties, and it's going to become more and more serious for the banks, it looks like, right? Like they're certainly going to have more assets on the books than they can keep on the books. And so you're going to be sitting there in the catbird seat to take some of these properties off of their hands and bring again this massive value to a seller. In this case, it's a bank, but it's a seller that has real pain points, right? Like we don't often think of the banks having pain points, but for right now, I think we're in a unique time where banks have some very unique pain points that they didn't expect to have. At least it sort of came out of left field for me to hear that we had this banking crisis going on. So I think you're in a great spot and an interesting spot. And I hope that, again, you keep me in mind for anything that goes on in Florida. We'd like to be your go-to guys, your eyes. We'll go look at it as we did on this last one. And I don't even think that was a bank deal, but to the extent that you're doing anything in the state of Florida, I've got a team there and we're going to be looking for these opportunities as well. So just keep keeping us in mind, and we'll go, as you know, we'll go look quickly. Yeah.
Oh, dude, you guys were the first ones there. I called you right away. You know, yeah. I was like, oh, dude, if this guy, if he'll tell me yes or no. The thing with the other cool thing about what we're doing is the banks are okay with losing. So yep. They know that if they lose money on the deal selling it to us, they moved it and then they get to write their losses off. So we're able to buy them pretty deep.
Yeah, and it's going to get better. Like the more the pain comes into the banking system, the deeper your discounts will be. I expect that we're going to see throughout the rest of this year a higher rate of foreclosure. We're going to see more people get in trouble with the banks. And as the banks are already in trouble, they can't afford to take these assets on. So they need a disposition arm, and you represent that. I think it's a brilliant business model. So good for you.
Yeah. So that's one of the platforms. And the other one's just kind of your traditional wholesale platform.
Okay. And so, guys, we want you to ask all the questions that you can. Put them in the chat for us. Give us a like on the video. It really helps out with the algorithm. We're super, super close to being monetized on this channel. And really, you're hitting the like button there will help us get to that 4,000 watch hours. And we see like being able to make $8 or $9 a month in the very near future. We're very excited about that, guys. We've been working for 2 years for this and spent God knows how many hours and how many dollars, but we hope that, to sort of the theme, this channel brings value to you guys. And so if you'll hit that like button, it really helps us out. And if you put your questions in here, we'll answer them. Anything at all about Puerto Rico or anything at all about property wholesale, even nationwide. Maybe there are some people out there that have a specific market in mind and you want to connect with Pedro and get on his buyers list. That would be something that we could connect. Pedro, how can people reach you? And we'll put this up there several times during the conversation, but what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So they can go, we have 2 dispo platforms. It's sellthisdeal.com. My personal cell phone is in those properties. I mean, literally my cell phone that I've had since I was like 20 years old. And then we have fstreetnorton.com. So like as in Front Street Norton.com.
Awesome.
And sellthisdeal.com. And so those are 2 of our platforms. Not all of our properties are up there. We get properties under contract, and then we comb through them. We get contractors out to them. We get, sometimes inspection reports, whatever. We get lock boxes and clean them out. So there's a process to our whole mess, to our whole madness. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
And you guys do an incredible amount of due diligence for people. I mean, so you're a wholesaler. I assume you're not closing on 50 deals a month from the banks, but you're contracting to buy them, and then you're selling your contract. Is that still the business model most of the time?
Yeah, my wife just showed me we got a house under contract, so that's like a $40,000 assignment there. She just told me right now, but yeah, a lot of what we're kind of focusing on is dispo, to be honest with you. And so I would say we're probably going to move, we'll be one of the top movers in the country of deals. So there, people are bringing deals to partner with us because we have such a strong dispo team. And so, hey, Pedro, we've got this deal. We don't know how to move it. Can you help us? You've got buyers. You guys have contacts. And we're like, sure, here's how you piece it together. And we're helping new wholesalers, too, who have deals. You'd be surprised. There's some wholesalers with some massive deals, and they don't even know what they're sitting on or know what they're doing. I mean, Friday, I got a deal in Oklahoma, Tulsa. Beautiful house, 5,000 square feet, $650,000 house. We got it under contract for $250,000.
Wow. Nice.
$100,000 assignment all day.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And leaving plenty of meat on the bone for the actual end buyer, flipper, the person who's going to go in and do the renovations and fix it up and still make a bunch of money. So guys, if you started a wholesale business recently and you're still building out your buyers list, you need to connect with Pedro because he's got a pretty big buyers list, right? And so you can come in and partner on deals like this where you get a great deal under contract and you need to find the money to close on it. You need to find the end buyer, or you need to find the in-between buyer who's going to come in and fix it up and sell it. Pedro can help you with this. So reach out to him at those emails that he gave, or you want to say it again, Pedro?
Yeah. So you can reach out to me on sellthisdeal.com.
Sellthisdeal.com. There you go.
Or just Google Jerry Norton's JV portal.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's a great service, again, that you guys provide value for. And Jerry's known for this, right? Like anybody who's starting out in the wholesale business, if you guys haven't seen Jerry's stuff, he's got so much great information out there on YouTube. You really got to go check him out. I'm sure most people who are watching this will be aware of who Jerry is, but just in case there's one person who sees it that doesn't know Jerry yet, you need to go check out his stuff. He is amazing.
My favorite part about the JV portal, so we have these huge, massive platforms. The bank-owned property stuff is really cool because it's like no one has done it. But I'd have to say, the JV portal out of the two might be my favorite thing to work on because we're dealing with a lot of new wholesalers. They're bringing us these deals, and it's cool to talk to them because it's like, well, the deal doesn't work like that. We can tell them, here's what you need to do. Go back to the seller, go back to this and get the deal done like this. And then, they'll come back, there's a little bit of back and forth, but it's cool to partner with new wholesalers that are looking to get in the game, see somebody make some money. We helped a wholesale deal go through on Friday. She's making $55,000 on her first wholesale deal.
Wow. Amazing. She
brought us the deal and we were like, listen, you've got already interest in it. And so we've walked her through the whole process, and it was a major win.
That's incredible. That's a great value, and you're teaching someone how to do something that's going to become a skill set that will be life altering, and they'll be able to do this kind of stuff for the rest of their life. And real estate investing, to me, guys, is the path to freedom. It's the way out of the rat race. It's the way to build generational wealth. There's so much good that comes out of jumping in with both feet and becoming a real estate investor. You start out oftentimes as a wholesaler, which is your guys' thing. That's what you guys specialize in. And eventually you move on to where you own a portfolio of rental properties, and then you're buying and fixing hotels and stuff. You're kind of doing everything all at once, Pedro. Talk about how coming back to the island of Puerto Rico and being able to get into investments like the Looking Glass and using Act 60 tourism tax credits. How has that been a game changer for you?
I love the Looking Glass. I love the project. The building is unique, but for me, the Looking Glass is important because of the location of it, where it is, what it means to the community. We want to make a statement. It's funny. When Jerry and I were talking about the design of the building, I was at his house and I was sharing with Jerry, like, hey, Jerry, we can kind of go, cheap on the rehab and get it done and get people in there. And, full disclosure, Jerry's wife came running out of the house, right? And they have this beautiful patio thing. And, she's like, we are not people who have a poverty mindset. We are not lack-minded people. We are people who are here to impact the community. Jerry's wife said this. And so, and we were just on the same page. Like, that's what was so important about the Looking Glass and why we wanted to step up the rehab. And she was like, we want the fabric of the building to stand for something. Like, I mean, we want it to just to be a passion, as building a love for the community. She was like, this isn't just an investment. We're community shifters. We're here to not just invest in stuff, but be a part of impacting a community. And that's what's significant to me, is really, it is a great financial opportunity for me, right? The tax credits are amazing. We'll get like $1.4 million back in tax credits that we're going to, that translates over to like $1.2 million in cash. I mean, like, bro, that's amazing. 90% tax exempt. So we make $1 million a year on the property. We pay only on 10% of the income. I mean, so the income, and then not only that, think about how many cars drive up and down Ponce de Leon on a daily basis. I don't know, tens of thousands of cars. So we're in a sweet spot location. The value is only going to go up in that property, but ultimately the value and the life-changing thing for me is to be able to, we started a construction company based out of Looking Glass. Essentially, we've partnered with other construction companies. Families are being blessed because of what we're doing. The guys, our crews are amazing. Marcos and Raymond Marcos and Raymond. Those are my brothers. There's just a bond, and there's full transparency, like family, there's conflict, but there's also a lot of celebration around all three of us. And now Suhei's involved. And so we've created a massive unit that we think is going to really add value to Puerto Rico. And as you know, the construction and the need in Puerto Rico, Suhei's been a pivotal point. So
tell people who Suhei is. Yeah.
So Suhei is my sister. I don't typically introduce her as Suhei because when I'm talking business, we're her and I know it's business, and she feels the same way. She's like, you may be my brother outside of this, but this is business. And so, that's how it is. So she's the project manager. Suhei is extremely gifted when it comes to organizing projects, even interacting where, because constructions, they have mistakes, everybody has their giftings and abilities and whatever. Suhei fills the gap, and she does it at a very, very high level. I mean, Looking Glass Hotel is like a drop in the bucket to some of the projects she does. It's it's laughable, because she's used to like $80 million projects and things like that, where she's building a university or a community, or what I mean. That's a development. So for her, this little project is cool, but it's a passion project for her too, because of the opportunities that are coming from it. Families are being blessed. The contractors' families are being blessed. And so that for me is really impactful. And it's great to have my sister involved in the business as well, bringing this thing together to be like the mother figure and manage these projects at a high level.
I want to hit on two key points that you just talked about, and I look so forward to working with your sister. We hired her to do a big flip for us, and she's looking at a hotel project with us in Arecibo that our costs have sort of gotten out of control, and she looks at things with such a sharp and keen eye. I mean, it's awesome. I am super impressed. You told me, you called me up and you said, hey, you need to hire Suhei to run these projects. And it's been something that we were looking for, right? A great project manager. And we're going to learn from her, and she's going to learn from us. And we are excited to be working with her. But I want to talk about with you this community aspect of it, because I think this corridor where both of us are investing on this street called Juan Ponce de Leon in Santurce, Puerto Rico, it's our buy box, right, for both of us.
Bring me anything.
And for you, and I think for anyone who's going to watch this later on, there's a special part to the story in that this is where you grew up. And so now you're coming back to the island, and investing on a street that's blocks from where you were a kid, right?
Yeah. So we have my great aunt used to live right there. And so that was like the family hub spot. And so, growing up, we lived there when we were really, really little kids. Like, I mean, I was an infant and I was brought there. And so, I know there's a significant history on Ponce de Leon where it was like Saks Fifth Ave, and you could look at the history pictures, from the 50s. It was just a beautiful street with the most beautiful buildings. And then it was, then Plaza Las Americas came and a lot of stores moved out and a lot of drugs moved in and a lot of different issues moved into that street. And so I remember it as a kid, seeing the prostitution. Unfortunately, like I don't, it may seem offensive to hear us talk about this right now, but a lot of the struggles that you don't want to see were happening there. And it's just great to see that shift happen in a community. And I remember as a kid walking up and down Ponce de Leon, going to Condado Beach, because we used to walk that whole distance and to the beach from that area.
Yep.
As a family, as a kid, I was a little kid. And so for me, it's a passion project because I knew what it was, and I saw a lot happen in that area. And for me, it's a passion project because I just want to be a part of bringing value to our city. That's what I want to do. I want to leave a mark. It's great to make money, and money is a consequence of doing the right thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to being I don't need my name known. I don't need any of that. But I know, as a consequence that it will be known. I know I'll make an impact in that community. There's not a question.
I don't think there's any question about it. The amount of value that you just bring by being you, showing up, being a connector, putting things together, putting people together, building out a hotel in the area that you grew up in. All of those things are amazing. Your story to me is so important for the rest of the island to hear and know that you can do it, right? Like, you are living proof that this kind of investment can be made in the island and can be made by people who are the local population. And you're coming to the island after being gone for a while, and you're taking advantage of Act 60, which will give you tourism tax credits. We hear quite often that these products or these tax credits aren't available to the locals. And it's a shame when I hear it, because I know that it's not true, but it is so often out there that only the foreigners can come in and get these tax credits. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's just so important that we let the world know that, look, Act 60 is for the local population.
There's only, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I know, because we've done a lot of digging, you as well, there's only one portion of the Act 60 that doesn't apply to locals. And it's smart. Oklahoma did it. Oklahoma was paying people to come bring their businesses. They were giving you $10,000. You think the Oklahoma, residents of Oklahoma were complaining that, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me? No, because listen, population drives economy, bottom line, and so in Puerto Rico, the only portion of Act 60 that doesn't apply is, the tax break where you move your company from the mainland here.
The capital gains tax break. It's a personal capital gains. I don't even know what it's called anymore. It used to be
you
Act
don't
22.
Have it.
I don't have it. I don't think you have it.
No.
It's you have to make your money by selling something and earning a capital gain in order for anyone to be able to do it. So that means you're trading in the stock market, or you're doing Bitcoin or something like that. But real estate guys, this probably, once as a wholesaler, you do 5 or 6 wholesales in 1 year, you become what's called a broker dealer, a professional real estate person, and you pay tax at ordinary income. Right. And that's not different for us here in Puerto Rico or the way that we do it in Florida.
Right. So Act 60, you know, the thing is there's so many incentives, and it's like there's a block for people to think that it doesn't apply to them, and it's a huge miss. I encourage locals to get educated on the tax incentives and the opportunities to do what everybody else is doing and to take full advantage.
It's a disservice for the people in the know to perpetrate that it's only available to people from off the island, right? Because a portion of it is they kill the whole incentive, right? So Act 60 has so many really good things that everyone's entitled to and able to take advantage of, but you constantly hear that it's not for me, it's not for me. And so you just naturally have that mindset that, oh, Act 60, I just can't do it. I think that many people have thought that way in the past. And so we try on this channel very often to put it out there that Act 60 is available to everybody.
You know what else has happened though? Think about this. 750,000 people moved to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years.
We have a positive population growth for the first time in over like 15 years. I think it's much longer than that, but it's at least the last 10 or 15 years, negative population growth until like 2019, 2020. Right. So fine. And you know what? 750,000 people moved here. How many of them are actually taking advantage of Act 60? It's like a drop in the bucket, unfortunately. Unfortunately, because we would like to encourage people to be starting businesses and creating jobs and raising the wage here, right? So it's too bad that that is being used at such a small level. Right.
It's and again, it's I just, you know, if there's any locals that are watching this, I hope the thing that they get is, you know, find out for yourself the truth on anything. You know, just don't take everybody's word for it. It's like, oh, well, you know, I was hurt. I was told, you know, that it doesn't apply to me, and it just applies to the gringos coming to, you know, Puerto Rico and whatnot. So I really hope that they could capitalize on the opportunities there.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you will put your questions in the chat there, we would love to answer as many questions as we can and give you guys as much value as possible. I see there's like 10 or 11 people watching. We've only got a couple of likes. If you would hit that thumbs up for us, it's a big help. But please put your questions in the chat too, and let's let Pedro answer some questions about moving back to the island or about property wholesale business, anything at all. This guy's a wealth of information, and I'm along for the ride, and I'll try and help out where I can as well. So like the video, give us some questions, and yeah, we appreciate you guys. Else, Pedro, can we talk about what's next for you? You're packing up, right? Like you guys are actually packing the bags and coming to the island. Have you even found a landing spot on the island yet? Where are you going to live, and when are you going to get here? Oh, go ahead and answer that, and then we'll answer the question.
So she said, Robert, can you talk about export? But yeah, we're moving. We're coming. We're on our way. For us, it's we would have been there already if we weren't establishing all of these things and putting these businesses in place. So we would have been there. But we're weeks away from being in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I think it's kind of blown up for you, right? Like you came here, you were planning to move here, you got in business with your mentor Jerry, and life sort of exploded. Like you're going through an extreme growth right now, and we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier offline. You're in this amazing growing period in your business and life, and it's a special moment in time when these things happen. So how have you been able to deal with that? Like, you know, where'd you get your start? Because I don't think you've been in real estate for really all that long, right?
No, I learned quickly.
Yeah,
I learned quickly.
When you started.
You know, for me is I realized that if you change, the only way to change your world is to change your mind. And so I decided to make a mind shift different. I used to be a hairstylist. COVID hit, and I had friends that were flippers and been involved in real estate, and my wife actually has a vision board of mine from like 10 years ago that I wrote. I used to write a lot of vision boards, and it says, through real estate, all these things that I want to do. But I was a hairstylist. I wasn't involved in real estate. And I'd forgotten about it. And she reminded me about a month or two ago about my vision board. And it's like all happening stuff. And it involved Puerto Rico and building up and, helping people in Puerto Rico and being a connector and all of those things. No joke. That was 10 years ago. So I was sitting at a friend's, we had done some things with business and they failed. We went through a lot of money. I remember sitting at a friend of mine's. He was in real estate, and I had like $87 in my bank account. I have 3 kids, I think, at the time, and a baby. And I was at their house, and I was doing his wife's hair, and it was during maybe before COVID. I don't remember when it was, but our business was doing okay, whatever. So COVID hit, and I was like, you know what, God? My wife was like, I'm excited to see what God's going to do. And I was too. So I started delivering groceries for Instacart. And then I had a condo, and I sold the condo all in, kind of while this stuff is happening, sold the condo, and then did my first flip. And I made like $95,000 on my first condo, rolled it into a flip. We crushed it on the flip. And I was like, man, I could really do this. And then a year after that, I went back to delivering groceries. I wasn't sure what to do. I was nervous. Do I want to do it again? What if I lose? I was struggling with a poverty mindset and working through like lack mindset. And I wish I'd gone harder in the beginning. And then one day I was like, I watched Jerry's video on burning the ships, how the conquistadors burned the ships. And they were like, they had to decide. There was no plan B. And that's what I did. I just was like, I'm going to burn the ships, and I'm going for it in real estate. And I'm telling you what, it changed my family history forever.
All right. We've got some questions coming up, but I can't leave that comment unnotified. That to me is it, right? Like, so I identify with burning the ships and having no path but forward. I think that when someone makes that mind shift change, it changes everything. You can always play the what if game, what if this, what if that, but when you just decide that I'm going to go forward, whatever that means, no matter what, and that's what you're saying you did, and you went from, at the start of COVID, delivering groceries, to now it's 2023, you're moving your family back to Puerto Rico, you're in a couple of multi-million-dollar ventures. You're going through, again, this extreme growth phase. It's amazing how when you get into the path that God wants you to be on, that things will just start to line up for you. I'm so proud of you guys. That's really amazing. And I just love that story. So that's great. What do we got, Adan, for questions here? So, yeah, someone's asking, can we talk about exports? Suhei, hey. Yeah, I'm not an exporter. I can tell you that Jerry Norton has a really great story and video about how he uses Act 20 Export Services to run his real estate business, probably one of the ones that he's in business with Pedro, and he pulls out management fees here on the island at a 4% tax credit or tax basis, rather than paying 40 or 50 or 60% of his money away in taxes back in the States. So, and he's got a great saying that whenever you're ready to keep all of your money, move your business to Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico is very business friendly, right? Like, so that is something that people can come here and create an export service business and sell their management of businesses that they have back in the States to those businesses, and then pay a relatively low corporate tax, or not relatively low, really low, 4% from coming from a place like California or one of the other states, New York, or some of these places that have state income tax. You save so much money. It's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. For Jerry Norton, in one of his videos, I think he said, he's saving more than $1 million a year in taxes. And so what can he do with that? Now he can invest more. He can create more jobs. He can go into businesses with people like Pedro, and it's amazing.
One thing I want to highlight that I have to say, Jerry benefits from Act 60, right? He's an Act 60 guy. He's got the tax incentives and he loves it. But what I want to drill is think about, and I've heard a lot of locals complain like, oh, these Act 60 people come and they don't do anything. Do you know how many people's lives, first of all, do you know how much I paid for the Looking Glass? Out of my own money? Zero. And I'm an owner. And I'm able to move back to Puerto Rico. We've got Suhey back in Puerto Rico, from Puerto Rico who's wanted to move to Puerto Rico. And then all the local Puerto Ricans that are working at our hotel, employed, that we plan on not only employing as construction work, they're Puerto Ricans, and some of them are Dominicans as well, but most of them are Puerto Rican. Their business is taken off because of it. So, people think that these Act 60 people come to Puerto Rico and just, they're just going to milk it. No, man, this guy has taken a multi-million-dollar risk and hiring and employing local Puerto Ricans to get things done.
How many people have work because of the Looking Glass right now, and you're not even open as a hotel?
At least 40.
At least 40 families are getting their work through an investment that you made with your partner, Jerry Norton. I just don't see how people can complain about that type of investment. And to what you talked about, what it means to you to build something in the community that you grow up in, I mean, there is just so much good that comes from the fact that Jerry's here because of Act 60. He wouldn't be doing that. You wouldn't be doing that if Jerry didn't come because of Act 60.
No.
That'll be a very unpopular point of view. Like, I'm going to get all kinds of go home messages from that. But you know what? It is true. You're employing 40 families.
Yeah.
You're here working on the Looking Glass. Zuhay's brought her family here to the island. You guys are coming back to the place that you grew up.
You know why?
And it's in a large part because of that investment.
My family left Puerto Rico in the 80s because of drugs.
Yeah.
We left. There was just drug issues. My dad was struggling at the time. And so we had to leave. But the fact that I get to go back to Puerto Rico is amazing. It's been a dream of mine since I was a little kid, but that was our situation. We had to move. We had to go. And it worked out in our favor. But now I get to bring my family back and raise my family in Puerto Rico because of, in large part, Jerry. Honestly, I know my gifting and my ability, my persistence, all those things created an opportunity and they meshed. But those things, Jerry and my passion, to do things and get things done, that made it happen.
Well, I hope that people watch this and hear your story and are inspired by you, because you are an inspiration. You are who we're trying to talk to when we do these Monday Night Power Hours and when we put these videos out. It is in order to bring you back to the island, to open people's eyes that there's opportunity here, and to invite people to come and partner. So, we invite partnerships all the time on this channel. You invite partnerships all of the time. Jerry Norton invites people to partner with him all of the time.
Yeah.
And through these kind of partnerships, I just hope that people hear your story and are inspired by it, because you didn't grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth. And you're a real estate investor who's going to do $1 million a month in revenues. I mean, That's freaking phenomenal. If you can do it, and I'm not saying anything here that you don't know, but if you can do it, why can't someone who's listening to this do it? I fully believe they can.
100%.
100%, right?
100%. I mean, I wish people just would be willing to just take the step and whether it's real estate or an export business in Puerto Rico, just freaking do it. Just literally start something, start somewhere and dream as big as you possibly can and write it down and then do it. And
start your vision board today and then look back on it 10 years from now. And if you'd looked at your vision board a year after you wrote it, nothing would have happened. 2 years, nothing would have happened. 3 years, nothing. 7 years, maybe nothing. But now you're looking back on it 10 years and all of this stuff's starting to come true.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how the universe works? I mean, so you and I are both believers, and I wholeheartedly believe that when you get on the path that God wants you on, things explode for you. I'm not a a prosperity gospel teacher or any of that crap, but I believe that when you're doing the stuff that God has planned for you, God's plans are always better than our plans. But
100%.
but having that vision board, you guys, if you're listening to us today and you're inspired at all by what Pedro's done, write down some audacious dreams. And I mean big, fat, crazy dreams that are impossible. Write them down and think about how you're going to get there and start to formulate a plan. And when you do this stuff, it works, man. And then the only other thing that I would say is once you've done all that, jump in with both feet, burn your bridges. Let's go. Your only path is forward.
Come on.
And it's going to be a game changer.
It is.
And call me up 10 years from now and tell me thank you, or call me up 10 years from now and tell me I ruined your life. But I believe it'll be the latter, right? I think I think if you take these steps, and anybody can take these steps, you don't have to have a silver spoon, you don't have to have a rich father. You can take these steps, have a big audacious dream, make a plan, and then start working on your plan, doing your part, and do it for 10 years, and then look back and see where you're at. I love that. So we got some questions. Let's see what we got. Can you read them, Pedro? Because it's too far for my bad eyes to.
It's Manny Move says it's sad that historical tax incentive that exists, locals are not taking advantage due to misinformation. Bro, it's the lobster tank mentality. That's the problem. It's unfortunate. It happens everywhere. It happens in the ghettos of the states. It happens in the wealthy communities. Like I know people in multi-million-dollar homes that aren't actually wealthy. They just happen to buy at the right time and don't know what to do, and it's struggle to keep it. To be honest with you, like. I'm not even kidding, and it's such a mindset problem that these people need to for me, one of my passions to go back into Puerto Rico is to really help people understand vision and mindset, because if you're not careful, you can become sucked down by a historical cultural mindset of a lack mindset and be like, oh no, I can't, that's not for me, and that'll never happen to me.
Yep. You're absolutely right, Pedro. People get into a victim mentality or a scarcity mentality, or you just hear something and most people don't ever take the time to actually do the work and research for themselves. And so they heard one time that it's not for them and that it can't happen for them.
Just believe it.
And then they just believe it. Listen, Adon is a good example of that. When he was coming back to the island, he asked his accountant, what do I qualify for? And you know what the accountant told him? She said, you don't qualify for anything. And he qualified for everything. But that's the information that you get even from people who are professionals that you would expect to know the information. They don't know it. They heard one time that no one who isn't white qualifies, and so they just assume that that's true. And it's such a travesty. It's such a shame, because Puerto Rico is so friendly to new businesses, and they are setting up great incentives for locals and people from the States to come here and to stimulate the economy. And I have to say it's working. So yeah, we have another question. Again, Pedro, I'll let you read it.
What are some of the biggest tourism projects in pipeline in PR that you know of? I heard that they are redeveloping the port in Old San Juan. Also, Jack Nicklaus Golf Course in the works. Wow, Jack Nicklaus Golf Course. That sounds really cool. What are some of the biggest tourism projects in the pipeline in PR? There's the
Hard Rock.
The Hard Rock Cafe. Yeah. That's a big one.
There's a couple of really big ones out in Fajardo. There's at least two great big projects out there. One of them is the Conquistador is going to be revitalized, I believe. And then there's another 250 acre project out there somewhere on the East Coast. And I think it's a Four Seasons, but I'm not positive about that.
Is that one in Fajardo as well?
Yeah, right. Either in Fajardo or Ceiba or somewhere right around there. But yeah, there's some really big things coming to the island. I don't really follow the big stuff. I sort of like doing my small projects, that 7 to 25 room kind of small guest house or big guest house, small hotel, because those are really easy things to find and redevelop. I mean, we can take a building that was mixed use that's been sitting vacant for 10 or 15 years. And if it's in the right spot that would work for this, we can turn it into a small guest house or a hotel. And I like doing those kind of projects. Plus, I'd never bought a hotel or done anything with hotels before I came to Puerto Rico. So to jump into a great big one like that would be something that I hope to do in the years to come. But right now, I'll just cut my teeth on these small deals like the Looking Glass.
Hey,
and I call that a small deal. For me, it's a giant deal. For you, Pedro, it's probably a giant deal. But for these people that are doing 250-acre projects, it's a small deal. So it's all about perspective.
Sounds like you, Robert, need to go to your vision board.
Yeah, what am I doing? Limiting myself. But I really like these intermediate projects. They're big deals for us, and it's a big growth for us too, right? Like honestly, I had never thought of myself as someone who was going to invest in hospitality. It was never a dream of mine. I came to Puerto Rico and started being offered some opportunities, and I started telling people I'm a hotelier before I was ever a hotelier, and now we've got a couple of places that are open across the island. We've got several more. So we have, over the next couple of years, we're going to have a couple 300 doors island-wide hospitality projects. And that's freaking amazing. I came here to buy small houses, fix them up, and sell them to FHA buyers. So the opportunities that are on this island, they're endless. There's really an abundance of opportunity.
A lot, 100%.
We have another question.
Where is the best place to get the Act 60 information?
Ooh.
What's that website? There's a website.
I can tell you this. If you will send me an email to the flipflopflipperpr@gmail.com, I'll find that for you and email it back to you. But yeah, I think you can just Google it. You can Google Act 60 and you ought to be able to find it. But if you send me an email at the flipflopflipperpr@gmail.com, I'll make sure that you get a link to the Act 60 so that you can read it. There's lots and lots of great stuff in there that you need to, dig deep into, right? Like there's the young entrepreneurs, there's export services, obviously the hotel stuff that Pedro and I love. That's all in there. And if you're coming from off island, you could even do what used to be Act 22 and not pay taxes on capital gains. So if you qualify for it, great.
Sorry, I love this next question.
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. What parts of the island are most attractive to you besides coastal areas? And what types of real estate single, multifamily, or land or commercial? I mean, listen, real estate in Puerto Rico, first of all, I don't know if there's an ugly place of the island. Like you can go into the mountains, you can go through the mountains, you could drive to Ponce and the roads are just beautiful, perfect. And, you see the sunsets and it's just amazing. So you've got the rainforest, the internal parts. You've got, the areas near Lattice with the coffee plantations and all of those things over there. I mean, what parts of the island are most attractive to you besides coastal areas? You go into the mountains and with the views of the coast, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think that's all a personal perspective too. Like what type of investment do you want to be involved in? So we came here to buy single family homes and we were doing it in the metro area and now we're doing hotels across the island. I agree with you though, Pedro. There's not a bad spot on the island, right? Like everywhere I go, I'm falling in love more and more with the island. It's an amazing place.
You go to a new place, it's like, oh, wow, this is my favorite beach or this is my favorite place. And it's hard to say which one's the most beautiful. But he asked, what area of real estate to get involved in. And I mean, there's a huge opportunity in single family if that's the route you want to go. There's a huge opportunity in multi. There's not, if you find the niche in any of these areas, single, there's a niche, right? There's even housing credits that you could tap into and build developments that would focus on those type of things. There's multifamilies there's massive amount of multifamilies there's vacancies on multifamilies, 4 units and 6 units or whatever it is you want to do is multifamily and land. I mean, there's massive opportunities in land. There's farming, and you could start a coffee farm, or you can, whatever it is, animals, cows, whatever it is you want to do, land developing. And then you've got commercial. I mean, the opportunities are endless, and they're just sitting there until you and I come in and actually do something with them. And they're typically the ones that says no se vende. I love it. It's not for sale. Okay, so we're going to leave it dilapidated instead of doing something amazing with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love, that's exactly the way I feel, is what you just said, is that there is something for everybody and at every level. If you want to just come here and find a house that needs to be renovated and then put back on the market to sell, so that that would be a buy, fix, and sell. Man, we did 50 or 60 of those when we first came, and it worked like a champ, right? It was great. The worst we ever did was make 40% on one of those investments. And you're providing a need, right? You're taking a house that no one could live in because it's been distressed for 10 years, and you fix it up and you get it back into the market, and a family gets to live there. So that works. And buying anything, any one of the things that you just said, and doing value add investing, that's what we talk about on this channel all the time. Value add investing for me means that that when you buy something, it's going to increase in value because you're going to add something to it. You're going to increase its value by renovating or building or farming or whatever it is that your dream is. And I've never been in a place, and I've been doing this for 25 years, guys, so I've been doing this for a while. I've never been in a place that had more abundance of opportunities than right now in Puerto Rico. And I've been saying that for a couple of years. We slowed down on the amount of things that we were buying because we had built up so many great projects that we needed to then finish. And so we're getting to the finish line on some of them, and then we'll go and buy some more. But there is an abundance out there in every asset class that Pedro just mentioned. And so if you're thinking about doing something in Puerto Rico, just come. And if you put in the work, you're going to find the deal of a lifetime.
Yep. What's Act 60?
So Act 60 is a series of business-friendly incentives that the island has put out so that they would invite people to bring capital and investment to the island of Puerto Rico. And for doing that, they offer up things like low corporate tax rates, or in the case of hospitality, they offer a 40% tax credit back on your total investment. And there are hoops that you have to jump through in order to do these types of businesses. In other words, you don't just show up and you're automatically doing things and getting the low tax rate. You have to have the right kind of business. You have to employ the people that need to be employed. You have to follow all of the rules, jump through all of the hoops. And it's not always easy, right? And Pedro, you probably are learning this through the looking glass. Getting these tourism tax credits, this is no joke, right? This is some serious follow the rules, do all of these steps, employ these people, make this amount of monetary improvements. I mean, there are certain things that have to happen in order for you to qualify for this stuff. And so while they are great programs, you have to set everything up ahead of time and do things the right way. Anyways, Act 60, guys, is a local Puerto Rico tax incentive that's meant to drive business to the island and help the economy.
Something interesting about Act 60, I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if this is 100%, but I heard it from a really good source, that Act 60 was actually written by two Puerto Ricans. These were lawyers, and they had come up and presented it. They were from Puerto Rico, and they were living in New York City, and they wrote this Act 60 plan and presented it to Puerto Rico.
Wow, I had not heard that.
It might be true. It was a great source. She was a lawyer herself that told me about it, and I'd be curious to know if that's true.
That'd be interesting to know if that's true for sure. I would definitely like to know who they are and how they came up with it. And I think it's great. Puerto Rico does have a history of being in a tax incentive business, right? So years ago, they invited the pharmaceutical companies to come to the island. And so for a long, long time, the economy was based around pharmaceuticals. And then they stopped the act that was allowing the pharmaceutical companies to be here and pay relatively low corporate taxes. And when they did, a lot of employment left the island, and pharmaceutical actually went to China. And so there is this history with these tax incentives on the island and them coming and going. And right now, I think X60 is a really attractive marketing tool to bring capital to the island, and I think that's what its intention is to bring capital to the island so that the economy can grow. I've been here for 5 years. Puerto Rico has had a negative growth economy for over 10 years before Hurricane Maria, and so the fact that post Maria there's so much capital coming to the island, and you can see the growth in the economy, and it's a positive economic growth, and it's a positive growth, to Pedro's point earlier in the conversation, where people are moving to the island for the first time in over a decade at a higher rate than they're leaving the island. For years, it was an exodus, right? It was an exodus. And during Maria, I'm like the only idiot flying to the island, and every other plane is full of people leaving the island. But many of those people have come back, and many more, like Pedro and his family, are coming back now because there's finally economic growth and things are really looking up for the island.
Hey, so Ash is saying, what are your thoughts on Bianca, the reporter? Is she adding to victim mentality or shedding light on actual issues?
I think Bianca's a pretty talented person.
So
she's really good at what she does. I don't agree with all of the stuff that she does, it, especially the way she presents stuff. But I don't think that it's wrong to point out things. I wish she was a little more even-sided. Like it can't all be bad, but she's really good at what she does. So
she's extremely gifted, and I wish she would do more digging. Right? Like, come find out the truth. Don't just put stuff out, because a lot of what she says can be very, very subjective. But it also, I have to question, is what Bianca's doing is really just playing on the heartstrings, and just now she's growing her own platform at the expense of victimizing, creating a victim mindset. And the objection that I have, and I can see her concern, because Adon and I both have talked about this. We both came back to Puerto Rico. I'm like, screw this Robert Krager guy. He's a gringo buying up our land in Puerto Rico and whatever. And so honestly, we thought these type of things. And until we tested it, and we test for understanding, we're looking at what's the reality of the situation. A lot of vendors in Puerto Rico, lenders, like hard money lending and all of that, left Puerto Rico. If you talk to a lot of the lenders like you and I have had, a lot of the hard money loans that have left Puerto Rico, unfortunately, and this isn't going to be a popular comment, this isn't Robert Krager saying it, this is me, Pedro, saying it. You don't have to agree with me on this or anything like that. But unfortunately, a lot of hard money loans left the island because they were just literally abandoning just buying these properties with hard money loans, and then leaving the loans and keeping the money. And then now these lenders are sitting on the property. They were just abandoning the projects.
Yeah.
And it happened a lot of times in Puerto Rico. And unfortunately, a lot of it were local investors and that just were jumping ship. And that's just one little example. But Bianca, I wish she would come to sit down with us and let's have a conversation. She should have a conversation with us, a little panel. Let's talk it out, because we want to see Puerto Rico. And the last thing I want to mention, she brings up Hawaii. I've thought about this, obviously. Can't you tell? So she brings up Hawaii. Puerto Rico has a higher fertility rate than Hawaii and had a higher population than Hawaii. And not only that, Hawaii had a war that broke out. And so there was a higher population of Americans. And so, decolonizing or whatever it is, she's saying that you're going to lose our culture, and the culture is going to be gone. I don't know if that's true.
Well, I think the complaint that I find sort of this myth that Puerto Rico is going to become the next Hawaii. Guys, it's nonsense. It's impossible. Puerto Rico's economy is robust, and it is really not driven by tourism. It's 6% of the GDP for the island of Puerto Rico is from tourism. You know what the GDP in Hawaii is? It's really close to 100% of their money comes from tourism. Puerto Rico is never going to get to that. They want to double it. So they want to go to like 15% of the GDP to be tourism, but that's so far away from what they're doing in Hawaii. And look, I think that tourism is the very best way to grow your economy? I don't know if it's the very best way, but when you've had a down economy for this long and you need a way to get out and you're in the middle of the Caribbean and you have a beautiful island, wow, to not be having tourism be a big part of your economy seems odd to me. I don't know why Puerto Rico wouldn't embrace it. There is more beauty on this island than all the rest of the islands, and I've traveled to a bunch of them. And each island is great and has its own thing, but I didn't know how beautiful Puerto Rico was when I first came here. When we got here, once you leave San Juan in any direction, you go 25, 30 minutes out of San Juan and you see something that's breathtaking. And because it's not such a big tourist destination, many people don't know it. They don't know how wonderful the island is and how beautiful it is. The water here is prettier than I've ever seen in anywhere in the world.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's amazing. So anyways, that myth that we're going to become Hawaii, that somehow the only income that anyone's ever going to make is through tourism, this is just nonsense. I don't know how to put it. It's not ever going to happen. It's not real. This isn't what's going on. This isn't even a possibility.
I do agree with her on some things. Like, I don't agree with Dorado being built up on the beach. I personally think that's messed up. I didn't like that. You can't get beach access to that. I don't like things like that. You know what I mean? There are rules. We play by the rules and we get it done. And there's massive opportunity. I just don't like that. And I know locals or Americans that move to Puerto Rico that agree with me on that think that should never have happened. Now, there's things. So she's right about some things, but she should have a sit down and really test for understanding.
Well, obviously the beaches are supposed to be for the public,
100%.
and you ought to not be expecting to buy something and fence off the beach and not let the local population in. That's not the way that the island works. And I agree with you, Pedro, that I don't know what goes on in Dorado because I'm not from Dorado and I don't really spend any time in Dorado. But I do think that you have to get through a gate to get to their beach, or you've got to hike yourself in.
You've got to hike.
And that's a shame. And in every other, so you go to Isla Verde and there's condominiums up, but there's always with, 100 yards, every 100 yards or so, there's a path to the beach. As there should be, right? The beaches are for the islanders. They're for the people who live here. It's not a place like Hawaii where you buy the beachfront.
Yeah,
which is another way to differentiate ourselves from Hawaii, right? Like, I'm sort of assuming that goes on. I think from Magnum PI, I think that guy owns some really beautiful beachfront there. Do you remember that TV show? Or are you too young?
Oh yeah.
All right, I think we got another question. Do we? No? Now, so we've been going for about an hour. And guys, if you've got questions for us, put them in there, and Pedro and I will keep answering your question and keep giving you value as long as you want to go. We are here to answer the questions. What? All right. So we got about 10 minutes, guys, and then we'll wrap it up. So any questions you've got, put them in there, and we'll get back to your questions. So Pedro, what's your next project on the island? I mean, other than you're going to move to the island, you got to find a home. But I know you have continued to look for additional projects and things like that. Have you found anything? Are you excited about anything that's coming up?
Yeah. So Jerry, it's funny. My wife calls me. I talk to my wife, and Jerry's like, "Hey, Pedro, we got another 10-plex." And I'm like, I had nothing to do with that. And he's like, yeah, but we're going to partner on it. And I'm like, Jerry, I had nothing. And he's just like, man, he's been just so great. Like, and so we've got this 9-plex we're going to do in Humacao. And we're bringing construction over there. It's a good project. The bottom half is mostly done. It's not going to be a massive project, but it's going to value add to the community. It's going to be, I think the play is to really focus on extended stays. People looking to move to Palmas and things like that. You can come here. And so, yeah, that's the next project in the immediate. And I'm also excited about the construction company we're doing, that we're launching and we're really looking to be kind of an oversight, bring insurance and all the permitting necessary and bring bigger projects to the island. And so, that's my baby. So fortunately we launched that in Puerto Rico, and we're in the middle of getting it all set up. The construction company, Campos Construction Industries. And so I partnered with Jerry on that. Again, he's helped me launch that, and we look to really add value to the island.
That's amazing. I love to hear those stories where I like the idea of partnerships, right? Like, so that's how we've sort of been able to expand our business, is because of the same thing that Jerry just said. We get a project and then we just take it out to the community that we're in. And oftentimes it's people that are in the community here through this YouTube channel or some of the networking groups. And we just say, hey, who wants to come in alongside of us? And why does Jerry Norton invite Pedro into a deal that he had nothing to do with? And I'm going to tell you, there's one word for it. It's because Pedro brings value. Value is why Jerry says, hey, Pedro, we've got a 9-plex. And you go, what? I had nothing to do with that. But he knows that by partnering with you, you're going to get the job done. And yeah. You created that by coming to the island and coming to a guy like Jerry Norton or a guy like Robbie Krager and just started to give value. And because you do that, now you've got a 9-unit that you had nothing to do with. Now you're part ownership of the Looking Glass Hotel. Your story should inspire other people to try to think about, how can I bring value to people that are doing things? I like to think of myself as someone who does a lot of stuff. And so anytime I can meet somebody like Pedro, like a Don, that brings value, that will come alongside and bring value time and again, I want to be in business with you guys. That's why we invite partnerships all of the time. So I hope that people hear this and hear your story, Pedro, because I really think it should be inspirational for people. Like, they should say, oh, this guy did it. He didn't have a silver spoon in his mouth and he was able to do it, and so can I. We're going to wrap it up.
You can say it louder into the mic.
We're going to wrap it up. I think we haven't gotten any more questions. So guys, if you enjoyed this content, give us a thumbs up. If you want to reach me, I'm at the flipflapflipperpr@gmail.com. And if you want to reach Pedro is at, Pedro, tell them where you're at.
You can reach me at Flipping Puerto Rico on my Instagram. I don't use it much yet. We have sellthisdeal.com, fstreetnortman.com. And all my information's in there. My personal cell phone.
Pedro, you're a brave man having the Flipping Puerto Rico. You're going to get some gringo hate for that.
I tied it up intentionally before, because I was like, I want to make sure that whoever owns Flipping Puerto Rico does it right, and the message is delivered in the right light. I'm glad it's you.
I think it's obviously it's a great name, but it should be fun. It'll be fun to see what happens with that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to play on the heartstrings of some locals. I know.
There's somebody right now who's losing his mind in New Jersey.
Talking about go home. I'm like, you're not even here, dude. You're not even in Puerto Rico. You're saying that from your couch in New Jersey. Got it.
Yeah. So listen, what a great time with you, Pedro. Thanks for coming and sitting down with us. Let's do this again soon. You are a wealth of information. I always like to, before we close things out, give guys like you to give us one more piece of inspirational and fun knowledge. So if you've got something that you want to say to the audience, I would love to hear it, and so would they. And I put you on the spot. So
Yeah,
dive
man, it's tough. I can't. For me, it's like there's so many things, but you know, for me, it's Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, and that's it. Like God's changed my life, and when you walk with God and you walk in faith, and you have that support, and if you're lonely, if you're struggling, if you feel unfulfilled in your life, you know, when you get along with God and you find and you encounter Jesus and that love. It's incredible.
Awesome. That's a great message to end on. I love it. I agree with everything he just said, by the way. I love Jesus, and wow, what a difference having a relationship with him has made in my life and Pedro's life. So we don't talk about that on this channel ever, but since you said it, Pedro, well said. Love it. Love it.
Thank you.
So,
thanks, guys.
We're going to end here. Thank you so much for watching. Share the video everywhere that you can and give us the like. And we appreciate you so much. God bless you guys.
Bye.